It just became official. We're getting Michael Chandler versus Dustin Poirier, November 12th, UFC 281. Now look, a lot of people saw this fight coming. Maybe you figured it was going to happen. You've been seeing it kind of on the radar for a while, and you thought, hey, both of these guys been campaigning at the top of the division for a while. It's just a matter of time before they lock up in the octagon. Or maybe it was because a little bit more recently we saw him get into it at a previous event, right? I think they were both at some major event. Dustin Poirier kind of ran up on Michael Chandler, told him he was fake, told him that he was going to give him a beating, all kinds of other stuff. And then you know how kind of beef kind of materializes, one thing leads to another, and before you know it, we've got these guys agreeing to a fight. Now, personally, I think this is going to be a really good one, right? Like I said, both of these guys have been campaigning at the top of the division for a while. Both of these guys have been kind of moving around each other, fighting similar guys, so they've got some common opponents, and now we get to see what they do with each other. But I'll be the first to admit it, man. I think Michael Chandler's in over his head. I know a lot of people like this guy. I know a lot of people are stuck on the things that he did. I mean, we'll be honest. Since he's been in the UFC, 4 fights, 2-2. But those 2 wins that he has, man, they are something else. Steps in there, her very first fight, takes on an incredibly tough out in Dan Hooker. Smokes him in the first round with the left hook, right? What a way to make your entrance. What a way to step onto the biggest stage in the UFC by smoking a guy like Dan Hooker with that left hook. Something else. Then he comes out, drops a couple fights, right? Then he gets in there with Tony Ferguson, which is how we saw him last, and gets him out of there with a front kick that the only other thing that you can compare it to is when Anderson Silva got Vitor Belfort out of there with the front kick, right? It was that devastating. It was that impressive. It made that much of just a picture-perfect moment. It's like Tony Ferguson became a meme with that one, man. As much as we love Tony Ferguson, as much of a real fighter as he is, it's like, ooh, what an ugly shot, right? But we all had to look at it. But it is what it is. But those are the 2 wins that Michael Chandler has, right? He's incredibly... He's a guy who catches your attention, right? He's really positive. He's out there on Instagram and he's putting out these workout videos, man. And let me just say, the dude's a beast, right? Comes from a wrestling background and you can see it. We saw that just incredibly explosive, powerful double that he took Tony Ferguson down with. We see these workouts that he's doing on Instagram and the stuff that he's sharing. He's a machine, man. You know, he's got quick hands, throws good combinations. He's got power. All that being said, I want to say one thing here. I think Michael Chandler is an example of a guy who's a great athlete who fights. He's not a fighter who's a great athlete. And people may question exactly what that means. They see him go out there. They see him fight. They see him fighting at the highest level. They see him knocking guys out. They see him competing with the best in the world. What do you mean? The man's a great athlete, but he's not really a fighter. He's a great athlete who fights. And what I mean by that is, it just seems like for whatever reason, the energy that I feel, I watch him, just the vibe that comes off of him, he's executing the moves. He's doing the things that he's been taught to do. But it's not the same as a guy who just goes in there and he's just a straight dog who loves to fight, who never wants to quit, who just thrives when it gets grimy. And I know what you think. You're like, but what about the fight with Justin Gaethje? That was incredibly tough. He was out there eating shots. I'm not saying the man's a quitter. I'm not saying the man's going to give up. I'm not saying any of those things. But for whatever reason, when I say him standing next to Dustin Poirier, I just think Dustin Poirier is a little bit grimier. I just think Dustin Poirier's got a little bit more dog in him. I just think that if things get really ugly, Dustin Poirier not only is going to find a way to persevere through, but he's going to find a way to come out with the victory. Right? You think about the difference in the fight with Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier and the difference in the fight with Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. Dustin Poirier found a way to come out with the victory. Dude, there was a moment in that fight, maybe it was the 3rd round when Max Holloway started to turn it up, right? He does what Max Holloway does. He goes in there and he starts to put it on guys with that work rate. He starts to work those angles, starts to control the gap and the distance, starts to use his timing and his speed and his combinations, and starts to overwhelm guys. And we saw it happening with him and Dustin Poirier. We saw that point when most people will wilt, they'll break. Dustin Poirier had that opportunity. He did not quit. And look, I'll be the first to admit, man, there was like at least one time, maybe 2, when I counted Dustin Poirier out. Thought his career was over. First thing that comes to my mind is the very first time when him and Conor McGregor fought and he got smoked. I'm like, that's it. After already seeing the things that he had been going through, after seeing the fight with Diego Brandao, I looked at it and I'm like, Like, what, this dude's going to be a future champion? He's going to be campaigning at the top of the division? I didn't believe it. Then he starts to just turn it around, man, and he makes these strides. He continually gets better. And even when he, runs into, Michael Johnson or runs into Khabib or runs into whoever, goes out there and gets these losses, doesn't break, man. He's tough. He comes back. He continues to improve his game and get better. I'll give you another example. He got smoked by Conor McGregor in that first fight. And in the build-up to their second fight, Conor McGregor was constantly referencing that. People were asking him, how's he going to deal with it? The power ain't going anywhere. The left hand that McGregor had isn't going anywhere. It's still there. It's still got the power and the speed. He's still able to find ways to deliver it. He's still able to figure out those counter shots and able to get it through. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to handle it when he lands that shot on your chin, knowing he knocked you out before, right? Big question going into that second fight. And in that second fight, I remember when McGregor caught him. I remember it, and I was sitting there on my couch and I'm watching, and I go, that's it. It's over with. It's just a matter of time at this point. As soon as he got caught like that, Dustin Poirier is going to start to shell up. He's going to start to get more defensive. He knows what it feels like. He's starting to get those flashbacks of getting knocked out before, and now Conor's going to be able to catch him again and finish him. Now, look, obviously we know that didn't happen. Turned out a little bit differently. That's because of how mentally tough he is. Dude, Poirier is no joke. Even though he never went out there and was the absolute top of the division at 155 pounds at any point. Never held the belt, had the interim, but never actually truly held the undisputed belt at any point. Don't for one moment begin to doubt the skills that he has. The man's incredibly talented. He's incredibly tough. And I think when he comes into this fight with Michael Chandler, he's going to be able to bring it, man. Chandler's, he's explosive and he's fast, and he's got quick hands, and he's got this. We saw that, like I said, mentioned about the power double that he showcased against Tony Ferguson, and the kick, and you look at the way he works the pads with Henry Hooft, and all of the things that he does. It's all incredibly impressive. But once he starts getting caught with some shots, man, I just got a feeling that Dustin Poirier is going to be able to find a way to come up with the victory. I think he's picked up more experience. I think he's fought better fights. I think he's looked more impressive against better competition. So, I don't know. It may sound as though I'm being a little bit harsh against Michael Chandler on this one, man. Like I'm just trying to dog the guy or talk bad about him. And I don't feel that way at all. I like watching the guy fight. Like I mentioned, I follow him on Instagram. I listen to what he has to say. I'm impressed by what he brings into the octagon. But when I saw this fight get signed, the very first thing I thought, man, this is going to be a tough fight for him. I think Dustin Poirier is going to be able to come up with a victory on this one, and I think he's going to use it as a springboard to potentially get himself another shot at the title. Because look, we are going to see Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev fight for the belt. Should Makhachev win that fight, it's going to be the perfect opportunity for Dustin Poirier to make his case for another shot at the title. So it'll be interesting to see what happened. Let me know what you guys think. Am I being too dismissive of what Michael Chandler brings to the table? I certainly don't mean to be, but that could be the case. Or are you guys kind of in line with what I'm thinking here? That Dustin Poirier is going to be able to bring the heat and it's going to set him up for potentially another shot at the belt. Let me know what you guys think.